David and Leah ended their marriage. Their relationship, that was seemingly pragmatic, ultimately fell apart. Understandably so, as their union was one of convenience. Their folks had been pals since their high school days and nurtured a deep bond. With a son, David, and a daughter, Leah, they envisioned a unified future for their families by ensuring their children would eventually wed. The two kids formed a connection from the cradle, with no meddling from their parents. This alliance offered numerous advantages. Fathers' businesses aligned, mothers became as close as sisters, shared interests blossomed. They even had a sprawling dacha, a grand estate, where both families joyously spent holidays and vacations together. When David and Leah turned 20, they tied the knot. However, love never truly blossomed. Their relationship felt more sibling-like, and they remained childless. Frequent spontaneous pregnancy losses occurred without a clear reason. Just wait, the doctors advised, things will improve. These things happen. Yet time passed, and nothing improved. Eventually, the couple acknowledged that their affections did not run deep, and the marriage held little promise. Their parents, who had generously provided them with a spacious apartment and a new car, naturally didn't wish to see them unhappy. But it reached a point where continuing together became intolerable. David and Leah made a pact to not upset their parents until the new year. They planned to face the news together as a united front after the festive season. There was no rush, and Leah made it clear that she had found a man with whom she desired to start a new family and live in love and happiness. Surprisingly, David harbored no feelings of jealousy. Instead, he welcomed this opportunity for a justified divorce, as they had discussed. Leah did not object, as she believed it would make the explanation easier. They decided to celebrate New Year's at their country house, a grand estate where they invited co-workers, friends, and some other acquaintances. The dinner table was exquisite, adorned with candles and overflowing with champagne. And of course, no celebration would be complete without fireworks. Everyone joyously attended the event. Beautiful ladies, dapper gentlemen, and David and Leah, who made a concerted effort to appear as a loving couple, evading any unwarranted questions. Everything was going splendidly, except for one thing. There were a few unfamiliar faces at the party who were particularly interested in meeting David and Leah. They had to maintain their charade, pretending to be a content couple, which eventually grew wearisome. Right after the stroke of midnight and the resounding chimes of the crystal, as the crowd began to gather outside to witness the breathtaking display of fireworks, David noticed Leah standing at a distance, engrossed in a phone conversation. To be precise, she was speaking to her lover, judging by her elated expression. David surveyed the surroundings and spotted a captivating woman, seated peacefully on the couch, engrossed in an album of photographs. She was adorned in a remarkable, ethereal dress and a string of pearls, her hair elegantly styled. However, what puzzled him was that he had not previously taken notice of her among the attendees. She must have been seated at the opposite end of the table, David reasoned, ready to approach the woman. Yet his parents interrupted him, presenting him with a jacket, scarf, and hat. "Come on, son. Leah is already waiting outside. What kept you?" Giving one last glance to the captivating stranger, David followed his parents out. The fireworks extravaganza carried on for about an hour, fueling excitement in everyone's hearts. Joy consumed them all, as if they were children again, laughing and even engaging in a spirited snowball fight. Cheeks flushed from the frigid air, they returned to the warmth of the house, eager to continue the celebration with an abundance of food and drinks. David scanned the room, but the woman was nowhere to be found. He scrutinized the table more closely, observing that each seat was occupied with no trace of the mysterious guest. This startled him to such an extent that he seized the opportunity to talk to his mother privately in the kitchen. Inquiring about the woman, his mother looked at him in bewilderment, stating, "Either you've mistaken someone or you've conjured her up in your imagination, David." She'd affectionately tousled his hair, and led him back to the living room. No, he couldn't be going mad. He turned to Leah and asked if she had seen such a lady, providing a detailed description. However, his wife merely shrugged her shoulders, confessing that she had been primarily focused on the men and paid little attention to the women. Desperate for answers, he stumbled upon a photo album resting on the nightstand under the glow of a floor lamp. Settling onto the couch, he perused its contents, while the revelry and dancing carried on in the background. Leah's mother joined him, explaining the identities of the individuals captured in the photographs and losing herself in reminiscences. Inquiring once more about the woman who had occupied that very spot 2 hours earlier, David described her in intricate detail. My mother-in-law gazed upon him, her surprise unmistakable, as she retrieved yet another album from the upper ledge and presented a portrait with the words, "Well, look here, you've just depicted my grandmother Elizabeth perfectly. Is that her?" David fixed his eyes upon the image, and a sudden, uneasy shiver coursed through him. Indeed, it was she. While her gown was billowy, it was modest, and her necklace less dramatic. Yet the hair, the allure, the grace, it was all identical. "But this is impossible," he murmured under his breath. Though his mother-in-law had already turned her attention back to the party attendees, he found himself unable to make sense of the apparition. Unquestionably, she had appeared to him alone that evening, and it bore all the hallmarks of a hallucination. Months ensuing were fraught with challenge and discomfort. The dissolution of David and Leah's marriage, the declining health of his mother, and a tumultuous dispute with his father weighed heavily on him. Furthermore, wrenching legal battles over asset separation ensued. The two families were steeped in adversity. Leah, who had fallen for someone else and initiated their separation, bore the brunt of the blame. Yet amid the turmoil, David found the vision of the woman unforgettable, affirming it was no mere figment of his imagination. On a balmy day in May, David meandered through the city and stumbled upon a kiosk peddling theater tickets. Compelled, his feet guided him there, and he secured a seat for that evening's show. This proved a preferable alternative to returning to the yet unchanged apartment, a space occasionally still shared with Leah. Missing the desire to engage with her, a night at the theater was indeed his sanctuary. The theater was teeming with people, the luxurious boxes shimmering under the spotlight. He made his way to his balcony seat, his gaze sweeping across the audience in the hall before the performance commenced. Elegantly dressed individuals, armed with binoculars, occupied their seats, engaged in hushed conversations. And then a sight caught his eye. It couldn't be a coincidence. The same attire, the same hairstyle and pearls. With a surge of excitement, he leaped to his feet. However, the lights swiftly dimmed, and the vigilant usher urged him to remain seated. "The parlor doors are already closed, sir. Any inquiries can be addressed during intermission." Amidst the darkness of the hall, he lost sight of her, yet the play no longer mattered. He impatiently awaited the conclusion of the first act, then hastened downstairs. Alas, his fervent pursuit ended in deep disappointment. Neither in the foyer nor the cafeteria did he encounter the enchanting figure. Her spot remained vacant. She had vanished without a trace. To say that David was distraught falls short of the mark. A wave of panic and anxiety overwhelmed him. Perhaps, he considered, there was truly something amiss, warranting a visit to a medical professional. There existed a psychiatrist who he was acquainted with, and he resolved to have a conversation with him, simply to share his experience and seek understanding. With attentive ears, the psychiatrist listened to David, posed a series of unrelated questions, and even conducted some seemingly irrelevant tests. Eventually, he imparted his diagnosis. "My friend, you are utterly exhausted. Divorce exerts an immense emotional and psychological toll on one's mind. Take a moment to calm yourself. As to what you witnessed at the banquet, it was mere misconception at the theater." David stopped looking for answers, as every guess led to a dead end. Time has passed. A whole year has passed, and with it the worries about divorce and compromises. Starting with a clean slate, he put aside all fears and worries. And finally he met a charming young woman. Avery, a stunning blonde with piercing dark eyes, graced his path. Coming from a respectable family, she had impeccable manners. Favorable circumstances have developed, surpassing even the most incredible luck. A transformation took place in David's presence, which restored his sociability and satisfaction with life. His parents rejoiced at their newfound son. Another New Year's Eve was approaching, which David celebrated at home, since his former father-in-law, mother-in-law, as well as Leah and her newlywed husband lived in the country. To introduce Avery to his parents, David invited them. In the afternoon, Avery called, mysteriously hinting at the upcoming surprise and advising her to prepare. The true meaning of the word escaped David. However, when they arrived, David couldn't believe his own eyes. Avery appeared in front of the public in a completely new image. Her once golden locks are now dyed a shiny chestnut color, showing off an exquisite hairstyle. She put on a voluptuous dress, complemented by a string of sparkling pearls. "Look," the girl said, "I've been dreaming for ages of regaining my true self, with my dark eyes and the innate belief that I'm a brunette. Do you approve of this, my dear?" He gazed at her intently, utterly baffled by the perplexing connection that eluded his grasp. Then, without missing a beat, his mom chimed in. "She's an exact replica of a young grandmother, Elizabeth. I remember her very well." Avery's mom intervened in surprise. "No way, such foresight. We almost called Avery Elizabeth, but changed our mind at the last moment. Nevertheless, this mystery has remained unsolved." After the wedding, David told everyone in detail about this incident. Of course, his relatives were stunned, and Avery later confided in him. "It feels as if some higher power brought us together. I'm on cloud nine." David shared her joy. His affection for his young bride was profound, forever seeing in her that indelible vision that had unexpectedly appeared, heralding his future. In no time, they welcomed a daughter, delightful Elizabeth, who inherited all of her mother's beauty and allure. She also embodied the grace of that enigmatic woman whose appearance had foreshadowed David's destiny. Last, it seems that our fates are foretold not only by our own spirits, but also by the souls that inexplicably draw us closer.